Greetings and welcome to the Rock and Roll podcast. Check out this record. My name My name is Mark, and with me, as always, is the creamy center of my Milky Way himself. It's Frankie D.
That's right, Mark. I'm the centerpiece, the main attraction of most people's candy bar, my friend, and it's what people have been waiting for.
It really is. So listen, if your friends have noticed that your taste in music has suddenly become the only thing you want to talk about, and they keep telling you what a jerk you've become for it. First, let me say, hell yeah. You're welcome. This is the podcast for you, my friend. Telling people the music they like sucks is your right, and most importantly, it's ours. So tell those friends where they can stick those Taylor shit records, and mark yourself, and make sure they check out this record. We're available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, and wherever podcasts can be found. Heck, we're even on the tube of you.
That's right. So let's talk facts. Number one, Bon Jovi can't sing. Number two, new episodes drip and drop directly to your ears every Friday. And of course, we'll rip up what you carry so sacred. And we're going to do that for all your listening pleasures.
Yeah, and three, Bon Jovi sucks.
Yes, he does.
For the uninitiated here on Check on This Record, Frank and I find records for each other, go through them track by track, and tell you what we really think about them. But that's not all. Oh, no. We also have a wide array of musical discussions, from our Spotlight series, where we'll dig into a band's catalog like a couple of grave robbers and see what's worth a damn and what's just a pile of fertilizer.
That's right. Now, keep in mind, head over to YouTube and type in the recent Bon Jovi performances, and you will see that he really can't sing. And more importantly, for our Versus series, we'll pit two albums against each other, and they're going to duke it out, Mark, for total stereo domination.
Oh, I thought you were going to do that Bon Jovi style. For total stereo, Johnny. Don't forget to pop over, as I mentioned, to the world famous tube of you, and watch us make just the most ridiculous faces at each other as we try to read. And who knows, there might even be some exclusive content coming that you're definitely not going to miss, provided we ever do it. So be sure to click on that old like and subscribe button.
Yes. So don't forget.
Now, social media is your Jimmy Jam.
Right.
Be sure to check us out on Instagram or Facebook, where we have a whole group thingamajig where we continue to roast musical sacred cows like that piece of shit John Bon Jovi.
That's right.
So mark yourself safe from shitty music and give us a like or a follow, or, like I said, reading is difficult.
Absolutely. Remember, today, though, like you said, though, well, one more quick thing. They pop over to YouTube. Remember, put in Bon Jovi, and they're going to realize that he can't sing in 2022. So
no, it's mwah. Yeah, that was good. Today on the showgram,
yes.
Or I wrote Shodio, like a rodeo, but a Shodio. Today on the Shodio, we're visiting a wild little three-piece from Memphis, Tennessee, the Oblivians. These guys are something of a fusion of two musical subgenres. That's garage rock and punk blues, which are both subgenres unto themselves. So we're just digging a deep old hole. Frank, you got any recommendations for the listeners in either or both of these styles, so that our listeners playing along at home have a little bit more of a point of reference?
Sure do. So I think for a band more people are familiar with on the garage rock punk side would be the Hives. You can check out that episode, of course, in our archives. For the blues side of things, I think the Black Keys would be a good reference point. Again, you could check out our episode on their record in our archives. Maybe for some more obscure stuff, because there's a lot, I think, going on here. I think the Cramps. I think PJ Harvey. I think the Marked Men, who also then eventually Radioactivity was one of their spawn-off bands, and Gun Club, I think, would work out well. Of course, on a mainstream level, I think people who might hear this and maybe not know of the other bands I mentioned might think White Stripes.
Okay, yeah, I think that's fair. Okay, very cool, very cool. So the Oblivians are a three-piece, as I mentioned. All three members taking turns singing. Now this is pretty wild. This three-piece has two guitars and no bass. So each member of the band takes a turn singing and playing guitar. And playing drums. It's pretty crazy. It makes for a pretty wild sound. There's actually a story that they were offered free time to record at the legendary Sun Studios, but were refused entrance for not having a bass player. So rather than going out and finding one, they went out and found somewhere else to record.
Wow.
Pretty crazy. So who is this bassless band, you may ask? So on guitar, drums, and vocals, we have Greg Cartwright, Jack Yaber, and Eric Friedel. I'm pretty sure I said that right. I'm going to mess it up a bunch of times either way. These guys were all in a bunch of Memphis rock bands, most notably Compulsive Gamblers and Shangri-Las. It's probably just Shangri-La. I don't think I pronounced the S. Anyways, so Desperation by the Oblivians, recorded at Dan Auerbach's Easy Studios and released May 28th, 2013. Fine year. You ready to jump in, you tall glass of Francaccino?
Already jumped, already in. And Mark, I think me and you know about being in a bassless band, right?
Oh, we do. We do. Track 1, I'll Be Gone. Not a single frill out of the gate, Frank. We get the band's signature fuzzy guitar and paired with a floor tom jaunt with plenty of tambourine in it. Greg Cartwright singing about the hardships of growing old and avoiding them at all costs, avoiding growing old at all costs. I love the dirty guitar solo, like just a minute in, which is awesome because like none of these songs are longer than 3 minutes. Most of them are like just under 2. Frank, what'd you think of the opener, I'll Be Gone?
The first chords ringing, I was like, oh, this is like the Ramones, right? The Ramones style. And then the dirty nature of these guitars continued and it morphed into straight up rock and roll with the garage flair. In the midst of the fuzz, we get melody and distinction on the chorus, short and sweet. And I'm eating it all up, Mark.
Oh, very. Well, go ahead and pile in a cup. A Loving Cup, track 2. This one is a cover, originally by Paul Butterfield Blues Band and released in 1966. So really leaning into that garage band thing.
Oh yeah.
The Oblivians keep it bluesy, but give it a heavy-handed blues. And even heavier hand on the garage rock. Excuse me, I'm just all worked up today, folks. You're picking up the blues vibe they're putting down here, Frank?
Yeah. So this is where I was mentioning to you, like it's like garage block. There you go. Garage rock, blues rock, 50s rock and roll, and punk, and it's like really glorious, all just meshed into one. The two guitars make it nice and full without the bass, and it's nice when you have the lead guitar playing and you have the chorus playing, the chords in the background to give it a full sound, which for moments I was even like, oh, is there, I didn't even recognize that there was no bass. So
cool. Track 3, M, back to original material, with Cartwright giving us a tune about a broken-hearted woman named M. It's a hopeful number with Cartwright encouraging her to reach out. Musically, we get a good old toe tapper. I love the screaming and the distortion it puts on his voice. They just do not care about running that needle into the red, and it sounds so good. I feel like I'm in a cheap bar or in their garage listening to these guys just absolutely rock out. What says you, Frank?
Yeah, I love this brokenhearted side in them. It has organized chaos going on. I really like when the lyrics and the verse ends and it gets extended by the guitar riff, which I'm a big fan of. You don't need a lot of time with songs like this, and you could get the message across in less than 2 minutes. And guess what? They do it.
That's right. Track 4, Woke Up in a Police Car. Whoa. This one is an Eric Friedel number. This one would be so easy to just clap along to, man. I feel like they let one of the guys just rip a big old guitar solo across the whole thing while Eric blames the police for putting him in his hard spot. Because, it's always the police's fault that you got arrested. I'm having just like an absolute blast with this. How about you, Frank?
Love the change up here with the vocals. It's fun to take something like this and make it something that you want to clap along to and say whoa to. Again, like you, really fun stuff here.
Very nice. Very nice. Track 5, Call the Police.
Oh,
Another cover here. This one was penned by Stephanie Sanders. And as far as I can find her online, she's a jazz musician who also teaches music at the collegiate level. Now, the Oblivians' previous album was called Play 9 Songs with Mr. Quintro, a bluesman and a band director from New Orleans who guests on this song. So my guess is that he brought this one to the table. Also credited on this one, Frank, is a Miss Pussycat on percussion and vocals. This feels like a big old party down south to me. Are you digging it?
so this reminds me of the parties my friend John used to throw, and then call the cops on his own party to get the people he he didn't want out of there. Really genius stuff. Brilliant mind. Way ahead of the time. I mean, he would even video camcorder where everything was. This before the phones. So he knew where to put everything back in place. Anyway,
Genius.
yeah, genius. Absolutely. If this song was playing at one of those parties, I'd be getting down in the dance floor. And this is the 90s, so we could have gotten away with playing stuff like this at a party.
Absolutely, absolutely. Track 6, Pinball King. This is easily one of my favorites on the album. Probably doesn't hurt that I love me some pinball. I think we all know that by now, that I love me some pinball. But we get plenty of bounce here from Cartwright, who wrote this number. In the Dive Bar that exists in my mind alone, which these guys are the house band of. I imagine they wrote this about me just killing time and crushing pinballs. Frank,
Yes.
if I'm the pinball king, does that make you the pinball wizard? And while we're at it, how does this stack up against the Who's Tommy?
Well, Mark, the Pinball King defeats the Wizard any day of the Gregorian or the Orthodox calendar, my friends. In fact, Tommy, you need to listen to this instead. Okay. So start listening to this one. I feel transported actually back to the late 50s and early 60s.
Yeah.
We could just let your mind go and play pinball all day long.
Oh, yeah. Listen to that rock and roll on the jukebox. Woo!
Woo!
Track 7, Run for Cover.
Yeah.
The first track from Jack Yarber on the album. I'd say just based on the speed, this is also the most punk-driven song so far / of the album. From the footage I've seen of the band, Jack is typically the one playing drums the most. Frank, not bad for a drummer, huh?
No, not at all. It's so cool that each member contributes vocally. I love when bands do that. To answer your question, yeah, this is the most punk they get on the album. Ramones full-on style all the way. And funny, Mark, isn't it that we reference Ramones style punk here in 2022, but yet no word of those Pistols, huh?
Yeah, well, I mean, because it's just somebody farting in a trash can. Oh, it sounds like the Sex Pistols. Track 8, come a little closer. Cartwright brings us back down with a little 60s vibe. We haven't talked about lyrics much as of yet, Frank. I think these are some of the best on the album. That said, they aren't anything overly fancy, but they fit really well to the vibe that they're creating and do a great job of painting a picture of trying to put the moves on a babe. You know what I mean? Frank, are you going to help me keep my head out of the rain?
Hey, man, that's what I'm here for. I'm with you with a band like this. The lyrics don't have to be anything crazy, and they aren't trying to pass themselves off as like a Dylan, right? This has a great 60s vibe, and they do such a great job of keeping the pace steady throughout the record. Cool song and a fantastic chorus also.
Excellent. Track 9, Little War Child. Speaking of the 60s vibe, Yarber gives us a little bit of I'm going to call it Dion here, Frank. I like these ooh-wahs. It's got that classic kind of feel, man. What'd you think?
Well, of course, anything with Dion, I'm all in, my man. Classic chord progression gives us a new and exciting way to keep the spirit of that era alive. A song like this makes you really anticipate those ooh-wahs. And on top of that, we get a ripping and crunching solo. Could be one of my favorites on the album.
Excellent. Track 10, Fire Detector. Eric Fidel singing on this one. She mistook me for a fire detector. Have you ever been mistaken for a fire detector or any other safety equipment, Frank?
Well, the running joke is, Mark, that I currently have 6 wives, man. So I'm sure I get looked at as some sort of safety equipment for all the people that I just mentioned. I'll have to tell you off air about that. Anyway, another fun song where you could just hear these dudes having a blast and making fun, or making this stuff be fun, which is what they're passionate about.
Well, there you have it, friends. 20 years of friendship, and I just learned my best friend's polygamist.
Yeah, exactly.
Track 11, Oblivion. Cartwright here. I love this big Lost in the Jungle groove. This one feels like they put a lot of thought and energy into it. It's a break from the rest of the album, but it fits so perfectly in here as though it couldn't have existed anywhere else. Frank, this is almost a self-titled track. Do you think that had an effect on the way it came out?
I think there's more emphasis on a song like this for sure. And I must say there is a Stranded in the Jungle feel going on from the New York Dolls. And I say that in a good way, even though I'm not the biggest Dolls fan. I like that particular song, and my kids like that song too. The breakdown here gives us a really surfer groove breakdown that I just love. If this is a statement song on the record, this is it.
Very cool. Very cool. Track 12, Backstreet Hang Out. It's where you can always find me, baby. Another Jack Yaber tune. His songs on the B side are far less punk than the one on track on the A side, and far more 60s garage with a touch of kind of 60s pop to them, and they're awesome for it. I'm really digging this tune. How about you, Frank?
You know, at one point, this song moved into my favorite category, which basically means at the end of the day, I can't pick a favorite from this record. Definitely 60s vibe, but more edge, where some of the original ones leave you wanting more, meaning the ones that did it in the 60s. This satisfies you, like the candy bar that you previously mentioned that I am, my friend.
You big old Milky Way. I'm going to fill you full of nougat. Track 13, Desperation. So we get in the album title track. You can feel Cartwright's writing at this point in the record. You really get a sense for him, which I dig with this and many songwriters and singers. When you have that connection, it's really cool when you finally gels with what they're trying to do. You know, oftentimes with bands like this, it can be hard to pull them apart. The bands become sticky and it's difficult to tell, but he's really rocking here, and we get a killer little clap part for the verses, which I love. You clapping along, Frank? Now that I've yammered.
Hell yes. And I feel the desperation, and I really like the chorus they created. I know the chords fall on the progression, but they made the point not to make this song basically a whole 2-minute verse. So there's clear distinction here. And I think it's awesome.
Yeah. So last track, man, track 14, Mama Guitar. We're closing on a cover. This one was performed by Andy Griffith in 1957 for a movie called A Face in the Crowd. Obviously, the Oblivians play it just like Andy Griffith would on a mountain of cocaine, but really work in all its dirty, fuzzy glory. It's totally worth it. Definitely not what I would have picked as the album closer, but it's a fun number. And this is the first song we had kind of talked about this, Frank, that I really picked up that Ramones vibe from them. What did you think of Mama Guitar?
Yeah, I think in context, it's smart to close an album titled Desperation with a little chaos here. And I think that's what it is. And we get that little Spider-Man lick on there that's reminiscent of the Spider-Man from the Ramones. And I think it even gives him more of an appeal. You know, again, in the initial talks of the laying out of the album, I'm not sure that this would be the one I would say close the album to. But again, context, I think it makes sense to me.
Very cool. Very cool. Man, I just want to do the twist in a drunken blur to this kind of rock and roll. Frank, give it to me, buddy. What'd you think?
Yeah, I just want to actually join a band that's just like this.
Yeah, that'd be fun. It'd be a fun band to join.
Oh, yeah. You know, Mark, I love music mashups, and I think this gives me so much of what I love, the garage rock, early punk, rockabilly, 60s rock, and blues with fuzz. I mean, it's become rare for bands to have more than one singer nowadays, and here we get 3. So who needs a bass? You don't really lose out on anything. I wish more bands were like this today, and this is what we would classify as rock. I'm sad to say that I think what's classified as rock today killed or stunted this style of rock and roll. Here, listen, there's no thrills, no flashy stuff here, no sex, no God, no politics, just a good time with an edge that lets out your aggression and allows you at the same time to smile. The fuzz doesn't even drown out these songs from being distinguishable. I love the speed. I even love the slower tunes. This was a really solid choice, my friend, and it gets a well-deserved 8.5 out of 10 for me. And yes, for those keeping score at home, that's 2 points higher than Led Zeppelin 2.
Son of a bitch. Now, I picked this off the heels of listening to Led Zeppelin 2 for a week straight. And I have to tell you, this is the kind of cathartic rock and roll that I absolutely love. It's not pretty by any stretch, and that's perfectly fine with me because they give us this awesome garage rock punk blues energy that only comes from playing long and hard and like your life fucking depends on it. So we get 3 covers, 6 tracks from Greg Cartwright, 2 from Eric Friedel, and 3 from Jack Yarber, giving the album a really fun and eclectic mix. That, while my only critique is that Mama Guitar would have been better served earlier on the B-side, which would have left the track like Desperation or Oblivion as the closer.
Yeah.
But even with that said, the album doesn't feel repetitive.
Nope.
Because there is such a rich mix of songs from different writers. I agree. I proudly give this an 8 out of 10. What can I say? Fuzzy, dirty ass, garage rock, punk blues are just my cup of fucking tea. Frank, what are we listening to next week?
Oh, man. All right. So I was thinking that we're approaching... I think maybe a couple months away. Well, hold on. We're in April now, May, June. Okay, so maybe a couple months away from our year anniversary of finding the Jason and the Scorchers record, right? And from that, I remember our conversations that led us into all of these other bands. And there was one band in particular where I was just hammering home. I was obsessive with, right? And now the dust has settled a little bit, right? And I wanted us to take a look at this particular record, and that record, Mark, is Moonhead, Thin White Rope.
All right.
So I want to circle back to them because
we've had some talks about it. I've definitely put this on a few times to check it out because Frank has been getting obsessive about it. No, let's do it, man. I feel like coming in after this, I'm in the right headspace to listen to something off kilter. Very cool pick.
This is a band where, listen, maybe 100 out of 100 people aren't going to know about these guys. And I wouldn't have known about them unless I really just went through a rabbit hole of trying to find stuff. This band was around not for a long time. I think they put out good records, but I want to really see if that hype that I carried last year with it still remains. I think it is, but I want to give it a listen, and I want us to dive into it. So Moonhead by a band that, Mark, no one's going to know, Thin White Rope. And
that's fine with me.
Yeah.
How long has it been since you've listened to that? Has it been a couple weeks, couple months, couple days?
I would say probably a couple months. Although the title,
you're coming in fresh off it. Okay.
Yeah. Although the title track
on
it constantly kind of is in my head. I'll just go around be singing it, but it's been a while, and I'm anxious. So
very nice. My friend, am looking forward to that.
Yes, sir. So, hey, everyone, thank you for joining and spending time with us. Remember, like, subscribe, rate, review, all that jazz. And, of course, be safe.
Yeah, as always, thank you so much for listening to us ramble about rock and roll.
Yeah.
Please join us again next week for another exciting episode of Check Out This Record, where we'll be listening to Moonhead by Thin White
Rope.
Thin White Rope. I was close. I wrote it down, but then I laid the pen over that word. Now, if you'd be so kind as to say it with me. Oh, my. Oh, hell yes. Oh. Bye-bye.
Bon Jovi can't sing.
Oh, Bon Jovi. He's so cute, but he sounds like he had a stroke. Oh, my God.
Were they ever good, though?
No, not in my opinion.
No, not at all.
No.
We could even do the anniversary of Slippery When Wet. That's how.
I mean, it was that one, and then what was the